Okay, so if you have a pencil, we are ready. Everybody, my name is Mitch Krayton. I am a carbon-based life form from planet Earth. Do we have anything in common?
Yes.
Yes! Good deal. I am part of Cherry Creek Storytellers. I was one of the founders of that group, and I have been telling in the Spellbinders universe for about 9.5 years. So I hope to tell my very first time to the 3rd grade very soon.
Oh, they're lovely.
They're lovely.
They understand more than...
The 3rd grade is lovely, still innocent. The 5th grade, less innocent but bigger vocabulary, and that's what I tell too. I love the 3rd and the 5th grade. So let me just say, when I was a young kid, I was playing music in my bedroom. My mother came in and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "My homework." That just shows you that we have been telling stories for a long, long time. And storytelling is built into every single one of us. It goes from our toes to our heads. We used to chat stories over the fence, and then we would tell town hall stories, and people would come to religious functions to hear stories and fables. It empowers us, it enables us, it gives us lessons, it gives us clues. Why are we here in this room now? One of the things that I have noticed is that we talk about the how to build a story. We talk about how to be effective with words or with staging. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could assess 3 storytellers that you've probably never seen or heard before and look at them with a different set of eyes, a different set of ears, and your heart. So what I want you to be doing as we review these 3 is that we are going to do it for what I hear, for what I see, and for what I feel. And there we go with Lisa's all the vagus nerve whatevers, the emotional waves, all of these things. No, it was a spectacular presentation. For those of you who missed it, thank you very much, Lisa. So what we're going to do is we're going to first watch it without audio. Now, the one thing I will tell you is I travel the world, and I find that many of the stories that we tell here are told all over the world with different variations. So this first story, you're going to see not named and not using the same character names as to what you are familiar with, but I am turning down the sound, and I want you just to write down what you see. And hopefully this is going to work. Okay, what drew you in?
What the heck was she talking about? 4 things, what are they?
I know.
Well, you're about to find out. What grade level do you think she was speaking to?
Kindergarten.
What?
Kindergarten.
Small children, kindergarten. What was that clue? Facial expression, the gesturing. Okay, excellent. And yes?
As the blind person in the room trying to see this, she was extremely repetitive and had a very strong
Gestures.
steady pace, which didn't tell me where the story went up or down. It was just 1 finger up, 2 fingers. So I didn't find it very useful because it was so repetitive and evenly paced.
Well, remember, we have a lot of repetition in the stories that we tell, right? And especially for young people, repetition is very, very important. But I agree with you, there wasn't a lot of contrast there. The reason that I had you do this, first of all, give yourself a hand. 35 storytellers being silent for 5 minutes.
It was not easy.
I know, but you all did it, so bravo, brava. All right, so what I want to do now is to play it with the audio and see if the voice and the gestures make a difference and an impact, and write down your comments on that.
So what we hear?
What you hear, see, and feel based on the whole picture. Oh, let's see here. I want to skip. And let's see, we want to replay. There it is. And this time with audio.
Oh, hello. Would you like a nut? Oh, listen. Do you know what's inside? I'll tell you. It's a story. One day, Chicken Licken was sitting underneath the little nut tree when a nut fell on his head. Ow! Just like that. Now, Chicken Licken was a very silly chicken. And when the nut fell on his head, he said, "Oh, the sun! The sun fell on my head! What if the moon, stars and sky fall down too? I'd better go and ask Hen Len what to do." So Chicken Licken went to find his friend Hen Len. Hen Len was sitting in the straw with her little chicks. 1, 2, 3, and 4. "Hen Len, the sun fell on my head!" cried Chicken Licken. "The sun, Chicken Licken? The sun, Hen Len!" And the little chicks cried, "The sun, the sun, the sun, the sun! The sun, little chicks! Oh, the sun! What if the moon, stars and sky fall down too? We'd better go and ask Cock Lock what to do." So, Chicken Licken, Hen Len, and the little chicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, went to find Cock Lock. Cock Lock was sitting on the hay, whiling the afternoon away. Cock Lock, the sun fell on my head." "Cock-a-doodle-doo, the sun, Chicken Licken? The sun, Cock Lock. The sun, Hen Len? The sun, Cock Lock. The sun, little chicks. The sun, the sun, the sun, the sun. Oh, the sun? What if the moon, stars and sky fall down too? We'd better go and ask Duck Luck what to do." So, Chicken Licken, Cock Lock, Hen Len, and the little chicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, went to find Duck Luck. Duck Luck was splashing in the pool, double diving and keeping cool. Duck Luck, the sun fell on my head." "Quack, quack, quack. The sun, Chicken Licken? The sun, Duck Luck. The sun, Cock Lock. The sun, Duck Luck. The sun, Hen Len. The sun, Duck Luck. The sun, little chicks. The sun, the sun, the sun, the sun. The sun? Wait a minute, said Duck Luck. Chicken Licken, where were you when the sun fell on your head? I was underneath the little nut tree, said Chicken Licken. Come with me and I'll show you. So Chicken Licken, Duck Luck, Cock Lock, Hen Len, and the little chicks, 1, 2, 3, and 4, all went to the little nut tree. Look up, said Duck Luck. What do you see? A nut fell on you. A nut, Duck Luck? A nut, Chicken Licken. A nut, Duck Luck? A nut, Cock Lock? A nut, Duck Luck? A nut, Hen Len? A nut, little chicks. A nut, everyone. A nut fell down. And not the sun. So, Chicken Licken, Duck Luck, Cock Lock, Hen Len, and the little chicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, all went back to what they'd been doing before.
So I heard different reactions this time. What was it that made it different for you? What made it different for you? So now do you know what the 4 are? You know what the 4 represent? Did she overdo it? No. Matter of fact, she had variations of the 4. She did 1, 2, 3, 4, and one time she did 1, 2, 3, 4. So even with the repetition, she found ways to do variety. I'm encouraging you to record yourself and see whether or not these are the things that you can discover about your presentation. I've got 2 more for you. We were going to record a volunteer. 2 reasons stopped me from doing it. One was the technology. I didn't want us to be spending more time trying to figure it out. And the other was I didn't want to put anybody here on the spot. So I don't think anybody heard this lady before, but she's part of a British storytelling unit. I've got another fellow who's part of Australia. And interestingly enough, both of those countries speak English. But did you notice this is not the story that we would have told? What was the name of the story we would have told? Chicken Little, and the sky is falling. So when you travel, the story is, you understood it, it was very clear, it was the same message, but it was from a British perspective. And if you have Britons that you are talking to, or you deal with some kids that are here from Europe, that may be more familiar to them than Chicken.
What was her name?
Her last name was Potts, and I don't remember. I think it's Ann Potts. But a lot of them, well, first let me say this. Do you want to be known as a storyteller? I searched the internet, and I only found 15 storytellers that were online on YouTube. The whole worldwide. There were people reading, there were people doing all kinds of things, very little content. If you want to be known, record yourself, post it on YouTube. It's free. And it also puts the burden on you to be greater. Yes, indeed. Oh, she has thousands of stories, that's for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's look at another one, and we're going to do the same thing. And let's see, somewhere here is this one. And we're going to do...
Inspector Pilkington was...
Hold on. Now, this guy is from Australia. You may not understand him, because he's speaking upside down. Well, yes, from that perspective, you're right. So this is a little shorter story, but again, I want you to look at the visual and see if the visual fits. So this was Simon Oates. The people want to know who it was. All right. Reaction.
There was a problem.
There was a problem you discovered somewhere.
Yeah.
What was your clue?
Well, his facial expressions and so forth.
Pauses were interesting.
Is what?
Pauses.
So you noticed the pauses. Excellent. So then the body can reinforce the words, and it's very subtle. But it can also distract the words if we're moving for no particular reason. And sometimes we over gesticulate, and sometimes we're a little too loud because it might be the first emphasis, and then the second emphasis needs to be greater, and the third needs to be greater. And so we need to monitor how we structure our physical, our verbal, and our variety in how we do these things. So we're going to listen to him now deliver this speech. I don't think you've ever heard this story before. And like I said, listen upside down. He's Aussie. But let's see here. I hope I didn't lose it. No, I didn't.
There he is.
There he is. Hold on.
Pilkington was the most highly regarded border official in the country, and this was for two reasons. He was an excellent judge of character, and also he was totally thorough and detailed in his inspections. One day, a man approached the border wheeling a bicycle. Now the inspector took one look at him, and he knew beyond shadow of a doubt that this man was smuggling something. And so he had him stopped and searched. When they found nothing on the man himself, they searched the bicycle, and they were thorough. They took the frame apart and looked down each tube. They pulled the wheels off and checked under the tyres, but no matter how thoroughly they searched, they found nothing. Over the next few years, this man came regularly to the border, each time wheeling a bicycle. And no matter how they searched him, they never found a thing. Years later, Inspector Pilkington had retired. One morning, he went into a cafe in the village, and there in the corner, at a table, was the man. He took his coffee, he went over and he sat down next to him and said, "Please, sir, you have to tell me. All these years I have racked my brains. What were you smuggling?" The man smiled and said, "Bicycles."
Now what do you think?
That was a surprise, yeah.
So surprise endings are good. Obviously there was a struggle. He couldn't figure out what he was smuggling, tore it apart. It was right there in front of him. We've all had those instances. So the one other thing that I want you to notice, when people are shooting with a camera, do you notice the constraint of movement?
Yeah.
Like, I can do this.
Right.
Now, unless he's going to go goofy with the camera and try and find me, when we're using YouTube or any kind of camera, we want to be as still as possible. And you can watch this when you're looking at television. Wandering around is difficult to watch on video, even if people do it. It makes you seasick. So it's a different style, but notable. And I tried to find people who were standing up and telling a story. Very, very few. A lot of them were still reading and they were standing up. Yes?
The commercials on TV where someone is selling something or whatever, and they walk across the room and through the door and across the next room, I just can't watch them. I can't watch that movement. I don't know if it's listening and watching or whatever at the same time, but that is very annoying.
One of the things that I find is a result of nervousness is this. What do I do with my hands?
Oh, I hate that.
Have you noticed I'm doing this? This takes practice. When you don't have a need to gesture, you need to be relaxed with your arms. And if you're nervous, this happens and that happens. And then we do the pray. And every time I see this, I crumple up a piece of paper and I throw it at the basket. Because it looks like a basketball and they want me to interact. So try that at home. Just stand in front of the mirror and do Mary Had a Little Lamb with your arms straight at your side. And you're going to find this is more challenging than you thought. So you take a deep breath. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. And you will be able to do this. It takes work. And all professionals who are actors and good storytellers can relax their arms. And when it's necessary to make a point, they use them. Right?
Yeah.
All right. We have a third one. Let's look at this one. And then I have a bonus for you, which you're going to really love.
My phone.
Whoop, hello. Get over here, you. This is what we
How to
want.
open your car door while submerged underwater.
It's an ad.
A fatal construction flaw in all recent automobiles makes it
That's
virtually
the one.
to escape the car after.
Telling a story at the same time.
Exactly. We'll skip the ad. Thank you very much. Where are her arms?
All I could see is she could sure reach for an octave. Her hands were huge.
Her hands were huge, weren't they?
And her jewelry was huge. All I could see was her jewelry.
And her boobs were huge too, did you know?
I think the third grade boys would have noticed that as well. Thank you. So what's your reaction to her?
I noticed her sleeves. You know how they accentuated her arm?
Accentuated the movement.
Yeah.
She was dramatic.
She seemed very welcoming to start with.
Yeah. Smiling facial expressions.
And so there are going to be some kids that are hearing impaired. So your visual approach to the story is what they're going to focus on. Do you have distracting jewelry? Are you wearing something that's incongruent to the story? If you're telling a Native American story and you're wearing something Native American, that's congruent. If you're not, that's distracting. And again, we're performers, as much as we hate to admit it, and a performer has to wear the right costume. And that's part of preparation, that's part of your rehearsal, is how do I appear to these kids? And I know we have some storytellers that are Santa Claus, and there are some storytellers that come in and they are cowboys, and they always wear the Western hat, and they wear a vest, and they wear boots. That's their persona, if it fits the story. I don't know that I would wear that apparel if I was telling an Irish story about Finn McCool. Wouldn't work for me. So I'm doing this because I want us to be aware that we have people in the room that have different needs. Most of us are auditory, and how do I know that? Because when I've shown you the first two with audio, I got the great reaction. The visual was the emphasis. If it didn't distract, then it enhanced what I heard. If it distracted, I didn't pay attention to the words as much. And that's something to bear in mind. So I'm hoping that this level of scrutiny in speech, one of the things I wanted to do and I haven't figured out how to do it, was to just have you listen to the audio without the visual. Do you have ums? Are you in the middle? Are you having breathing problems? Are you going, oh my, I forgot? And exactly. But remember, that's a trigger to the kids watching you too. They don't know what you were going to say. So whatever you do, even if you forgot a whole story connection, they don't know you missed it.
Yeah.
So don't bring it up. Just keep going. Now here's what they will do. If you talked about Donald, and Donald did this, and Donald did that, and then the next part of the story you talked about Ronald, they're all going to go, you mean Donald? They will pay attention. They will pay attention. All right, let's see if this works with audio.
We could have all turned our backs.
Oh, and just listen to, well, you could if you want to. I just don't know how to turn the visual off.
Right.
So, okay, so we're going to do this. Whoop. Oh, that's Mr. Commercial again. I'm glad we don't have to do that. Skip the ad.
In the beginning, when the world had first begun, all the animals lived over here and all the birds lived over there, and one day the animals decided to have a party, just to celebrate the world and life itself. And no one was more excited about the animal party than Bat. You know Bat, up all night. He's a perfect party animal. So on the night of the party, Bat got all dressed up in his best party clothes and headed down to the animal party. And there was Zebra, the bouncer. And Bat said, hello, Zebra. And Zebra said, hang on, Bat. Where do you think you're going? And Bat said, party. And Zebra said, this is an animal party, Bat. And Bat said, yeah, I'm an animal. Look, I've got fur, I've got teeth. Definitely an animal. The Zebra said, you got wings, Bat. You're not an animal, you're a bird, and you're not welcome. Off you go. Poor Bat. He sat on the branch of his tree and he cried, and his tears made the branch all slippery, and he slipped around and he fell upside down. He just hung there until one day he heard about the birds having a party. Yippee. He got all dressed up in his best party clothes, headed down to the bird party. There's Eagle, the bouncer. Bat says, hello, Eagle. Eagle said, hang on, Bat, where do you think you're going? Bat said, party. Eagle said, well, this is a bird party, Bat. Yeah, I'm a bird. So you've got wings. Definitely a bird. Eagle said, you've got fur, Bat, and fun little teeth. You're not a bird, you're an animal, and you're not welcome. Off you go. Poor Bat. He sat on the branch of his tree and he cried, and he slipped, and fell upside down. Just hung there. Still hangs like that today.
So by the way, I've just given you 3 great little stories you can tell that are like 3 to 4 minutes.
And what's the name of that last one?
So the last one's called The Bat. It's called The Bat Story. The second one was Inspector Pilkington. And the first one, Inspector Pilkington. And then the other one was Chicken Licken. So what'd you think with audio? Or define great for me. I love when people say it's great, but now tell me what that means.
Well, the upside down.
Ah. Again, repetition, right?
And the sweater, she was a bat.
She was a bat.
But it took work because she had to think through every single thing. Because she had emotion for every.
Yes. And it wasn't over the top emotion. It wasn't over the top gestures. Did it work? Yeah. So
No sound. She did this thing a little bit.
Which
and I was
thing?
thinking, well, she's lost control of her hands, but when you hear it, that's a very important gesture.
it is.
It's a very intense.
It is. And then,
Her hands together like this. And you don't really know. I thought she was praying.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. And then what about that sudden ending? Was that a surprise?
But it was right.
It was perfect. And she had just the right pause and then said, and that's where you'll still find him. You don't have to go crazy in making your point. We got it. We got it.
She was
So,
able to stay inside the frame because if you watch, if she moved her hands too far, they disappeared out of the frame. But she stayed inside the frame for the majority of the story.
exactly. So young kids like it when you stay still, don't they? So you might want to think about either sitting down or staying in one small space. With the older kids, I like to move around because I get to look them in the eye. I get some feedback that way. And the older the kid, the more they kind of like that. And also the more I grab their attention and they don't do this. A lot of the schools have removed that, but they still have the little twiddler devices. They can still pedal. They can do all these things. And, you know, growing up, I never had the need for that or thought that was something you should do in school, but these are the days we live in, right? What did you learn with all of these 3 examples? What's the takeaway for you?
We don't always fit. We don't always fit where we want to.
Ah, so what would you do better?
No, I mean, a person, I could take it, I'm okay because I'm different, but, you know, that.
Oh, I see what you mean. We don't always fit.
Categories.
Yes, yes. Well, that's character, right? Lisa, you gave a great reference. And yes.
And figure out if what you're doing distracts or enhances the story.
Right. And the best way to do that, if you don't have a video camera, in front of a mirror. If you have a video camera and if you have a cell phone, you have a video camera. Just set it up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you will know what you're looking for. You know the displaced gestures, the facial things that...
Don't make that face.
Yeah. And you know when you're smiling and you say, and they killed them all. It's like, nah, that doesn't fit. Yes?
What did you say earlier? You said monitor the physical, the verbal, and what was the third thing?
Well, there's kinesthetic or feeling sense. So kinesthetic has to do with movement, the sense of flow. So what you hear, we have sensory organs, right? And we want to attract all 3 of those senses the best that we can. The best storytellers will grab you by the heart. And to do that, they have to have great words delivered with great presentation and great kinesthetics or emotion, right? I want you all to be great. All right. Good. Is there any question that you have that we didn't cover? Any thoughts? Yeah.
Not necessarily questions, but what really came across to me was how the gestures needed to be different for the different stories, the different ages of the story.
Yes.
For the chicken licking, it was so appropriate to have all of those movements. But if there had been lots of movements like that with the Inspector Pilkington, it would have been really out of place.
And the interesting thing is she was seated. How many of us tell stories seated? Some do. So you can be very powerful sitting in one place. That was why I chose that one, to show you that there's great physicality, there's great vocal variety, there's great emotional content, even if you are sitting down. You don't have to be wandering the stage. All right.
I think so.
Well, if you can, go for it.
I think when you're telling to large groups like this year, a lot of the teachers want all 3 classes together.
Yes.
And I think it's more effective if you can walk around in those cases.
If you can.
So you can, make
If you can.
contact. But if you're just sitting in one place, the kid in the back might not pay as close attention.
So here's a little tip that I learned, and I don't know if you've heard this anywhere before, but let's say you have somebody who's a little rambunctious. They're playing with their neighbor and all of that. And the easiest thing to do is just continue your presentation. Don't look at them, but just stand next to them. Now, why does that work? Because everybody else in the class is looking at you, but they think they're looking at them. And they shut up.
Teachers do that all the time. For sure.
Yeah.
But pacing back and forth really is annoying to me.
It is. It is. And you'll have to buy more shoes.
Yes.
All right, I have one special treat for you to show you that we can tell stories at all ages. Are you ready for it?
Sure. We storytellers love to see stories.
Who's ready to hatch some cool pets? Click here to make your very own monster unadapted.
Can you please tell me a story?
Once upon a time, Dan.
Great story. Can you tell me a story?
Like a silly story?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there lived a boy who thought he was the smartest person in the world. He was sleeping, and then he went to bed.
Tell me a story.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Isabel. She had a pink puppy. Its name was Sprinkles. And they went to the park and started throwing a frisbee.
All of a sudden, a huge yeti came out of the snow. And the chihuahua ate his heart. That gave the chihuahua every single superpower. It was very buff. Like no dog could ever imagine like this big.
They jumped inside a hot tub and they started spinning around. But he forgot something.
The evil inside the dog
was growing.
What?
His mouth is like the big long slit. She couldn't get out, and then he ate her.
I saw it.
He just went forth and he got slaughtered. The end.
Could you tell me a story?
I don't know any story. I don't know any.
Tell me about a story. We can make it up.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldilocks.
And he lived in a brick house. And
one day,
there was a giant beanstalk.
And then there were 3 little pigs. I don't know the hunters. So I'm just gonna do a different one. Once upon a time, Kitty and the doggy were playing. They went back in time with dinosaurs, and so they lived happily ever after. The end.
Can you tell me a story?
Any kind of story?
Once upon a time, there's a little girl named Ashley. She thought she was a robot. She crossed the road head first. Her head fell off.
Story?
Yeah, I guess. The story takes place on top of a volcano.
Once upon a time, there was this guy named Peter who started wandering around. Suddenly,
a genie come down in nowhere.
He said, "Oh, I can make you one wish." And he wished for Beyonce. And then he snuck up behind her.
And then they exchanged.
Beyonce?
Everyone was like, "We don't like the wizard. We don't like the wizard." Here's the twist though. Alvin and the chipmunks took the form of a pigeon and taught me things in the future.
And then with the knowledge, I was able to help the world become a better place. There was no suffering, there was no war, and all living beings were treated equally. The end.
That's a really beautiful story. What's the lesson that we can learn from that story?
To not use your powers to make new friends. I hope you learned your lesson. The end.
If you're thinking about buying solar panels,
what'd you think?
The U.S. government will literally buy them for you if you take 60 seconds to answer a few questions below.
That's so great.
If they can do it, you can do it! Was this fun?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Excellent. It's been my pleasure to share this with you. I know we're a little early, but that's okay. And if you're in the Cherry Creek area, come visit us. We'll try and visit you in your local area. Make it a great day, everybody.
Thank you.